I don't have to live in a enclosed location. I don't have to call anyone back. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to file my taxes. It's just that if I don't, I won't get the return. Or if I don't do X, I'll go to jail. And that's a choice.
All that being said, I think that navel gazing or walking around or going for a jog or just being in a room and looking at a wall is all part of it. And I think that there comes a point every day where I'm like, I have no more ability to write today. I have no more ability to create today. And what I need to do is fucking lie in bed and check my phone or look at the wall or, get outside and do something that's not work so that I can do more work tomorrow.
And then when I don't even have to continue living, right? Like I could just not exist. And then, I usually get there pretty fast and then I go, well, I'll persist. And then I just do the thing. But yeah, it causes me some anxiety. Like when I'm, say, I guess the classic one is trying to write something, right? Trying to force yourself to articulate something that isn't ready to be articulated. On those nights when I prolong that for 4, 6, 14 hours, I would often find myself in university getting into a state where I'd be lying on the bed in the middle of the night with the computer on but not facing me and the overhead light on, just lying, absolutely somewhere in a state between paralysis and seizure, like unable to move from the horizontal, but rapidly and alternately shaking all the limbs and clenching my fists and face, like Ian Curtis dancing, but horizontal.
And that's how I kind of compartmentalize my thoughts and go through my process to then get back to what the work is. So I think that when we're talking about procrastination, I mean, there's definitely things that I think I do that are not beneficial to me and not part of a larger process. Not to sound too up my own ass about it, but most of the time, all of it's just a part of it.
And then sometimes I enjoy focusing on one thing so much that I don't want to let it go. I get into, especially with writing, I get into a great headspace. I'm in a zone, and things are rollicking along, and I know that if I leave that zone, I don't think I'm going to get back to where this piece of writing needs, so I just keep chugging along at it, and I kind of look at the clock, I'm like, okay, well, I know I said by, say it's 6:30. I'm like, okay, I know I said I had to be done by 6:30 because then I have to get ready and get everything together for the rehearsal that I have to be at for 7:30, and transit takes sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes 50 minutes. It's the TTC. Who even knows? It's a chaotic black swan of transportation. But then I'm like, I try to find ways that I can push it. And I'm like, okay, well, 6:30, maybe by 6:35 I could get this done. Okay, it's not done by then. All right, well, 6:40. All right, sure. I can still take transit by this point. But then I start making deals with myself. I'm like, well, I am willing to pay for a cab to get to where I need to go because it's worth it for the price of admission into what this idea could be for what I'm working on right now. And then by 7, when I need to take a cab and it's still not quite done, okay, well, hammer something out, and then I realize, oh, right, I have to get my rehearsal bag together. Oh, I should have done that earlier, but I didn't because I was in the zone, and that seemed like something that I needed to do, so I did it, and okay, put the bag together. Oh, right, I've also got to, make sure my hair isn't gross and make sure that I'm presentable, and oh my God, that's right, I forgot that I had to read the script for, Sing for Your Supper that's coming up. Oh my God, okay, I'll have to do that after rehearsal, no problem, I can do that. Okay, send my script out that I needed to get done tonight. That's done. And that feels like a victory, even though I'm now going to be 15 minutes late for rehearsal. So it's the kind of mental gymnastics that I am constantly performing. If I did real gymnastics the way I do mental gymnastics, I would be the fittest motherfucker you've ever met. Oh my God, I'd have abs on my shoulders.
I think when there's days where I can't do anything, which can either relate to laziness or depression, depending on what aspect of my brain I'm using that day. But yeah, I think that I've been trying to get more efficient at getting work done. And I think that, again, like relaying back to what I said earlier, for a long time I wasn't working to the best of my abilities. And if I could write, 1,000 words in a week, I'd be really happy. And now if I'm not getting that in a day, I don't feel like I've done very much. So again, it's just trying to condition myself and work those muscles in order to be able to do as much stuff as I possibly can to the highest of my abilities. And I feel like sometimes I can't calm down and I can't relax because of that, but I'm continuing to push to be able to be more efficient with my time and what I want to do in order to try to be the best version of myself and make the stuff that's going to connect and hopefully keep me from being poor forever.
I think it's a complex situation and could be a kind of flip of the coin, because I think you can go either way with parenting. Like, you could have a parent who attempts to impose discipline and structure, and the disposition of the child reacts against it, and you get a serious, reactive, rebellious procrastinator from that type of situation. And then you can also get a very organized, disciplined person coming out of a situation that lacked structure entirely. I had no rules or discipline as a kid. I would do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted, and my grandpa would clean up after me. So I never got a sense of, like, if you decide to make a 5-tier pretend cake out of, basil on top, and then potatoes, and then a cardboard shoebox, and then a stuffed animal, and then like an antique silver tray, somebody will have to clean it. It would just disappear. So, I feel quite free, but now I have a lot of dishes.
My parents were really intense when I was in school, and I was not always getting great marks, but my marks were really important to them. I was under a lot of pressure even at a very young age, and so I still kind of have that soundtrack in the back of my head. So now I do it to myself. I play those voices in my head as if they're still beaking at me, and so that's why I would never miss an opportunity or fail to submit a project on time, because those voices are very much with me.
I think a public shaming is one of the greatest motivators when it comes to preventing procrastination. I will get right to it and go way out of my way to avoid a public shaming. But it is a very painful process to have to do something that, well, again, where you're being forced to articulate something, but specifically in reference to yourself, where you have to construct some description or image or brand or pitch related to yourself. It feels gross, unnecessary, fakey fake. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I won't lie. I've certainly had days, and this is usually like after I've been working very hard, like performing every day while also working, while also in rehearsals for the next thing that I have coming up, where my body is just so tired that I need something that doesn't engage my brain or my body. I need to just be lying prone, preferably with like a bowl of pierogies, and just allowing something to happen to me that I don't have any interaction with, or something that I'm not a part of or not controlling, or my lack of engagement doesn't mean everything goes to shit.
I think there's two types of procrastination if you're an artist. One is productive procrastination, where you are able to distance yourself from whatever project you might be working on and reflect on whatever that project might be, find inspiration elsewhere. And then there's a destructive procrastination where you're caught in something and you're afraid to tackle it. So for me, that'll mean just going on a stupid television show binge and watch, like right now. I just blew through 2 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Just blew through it. Delightful, by the way. It's really great. Man, it's funny. And I have a huge crush on Diaz. Anyways, but blowing through that because I don't feel like working on the stuff that I should be working on because it's scary. But then there's other times where you need to stop thinking about a project so you can think about it again later.
I think that, yeah, probably for a lot of artists, if their procrastination is creative, they would have more justification. For me, my procrastination is usually thoroughly unproductive and uncreative and unthinking. Like if I'm using my brain, it's like my body rejects that because, like, no, you are actually doing something. This is work as well. This is like creative. Like if I'm writing a song, I'd be like, no, this is work. Like you should be fucking reading BuzzFeed lists or like browsing Imgur or like something like that. You shouldn't be doing anything like that. When I'm in procrastination mode, more likely I'd just be lying in bed looking at the wall, just thinking about whatever that I should be doing than actually being creative. But I don't know what it is. I like to think that I have these bursts of creativity when I'm getting stuff done, and then it burns me out, so that I have to have periods of procrastination between things that hopefully my brain is refueling. But sometimes I fear that it's just rotting, and maybe one day my whole life will just become procrastination to death.
I know the only real obstacle for me to complete the things I actually want to achieve, like creative projects, is just fear. It is just like ridiculous fear. And then like, how do you, if I knew what the conditions were to combat that fear, then I would, I think, already be doing that. But I'll probably just go home and load the dishwasher instead.
Well, I think that from certain people's perspective, they would see doing a part of the creative process that doesn't look like work as an invalid or obviously procrastinatory activity. And it's possible for an artist to see it that way as well. I tend to look at that kind of activity as just being a different way of prioritizing time. And you might say like, oh, I could have prioritized it better. Like, I shouldn't have had to have started my, application at 5:07 a.m. when it was due at 9 a.m. in person, right? I shouldn't have had to have started it at 5:07 a.m. Because I was reading an interesting thought piece at 3 a.m. I could have read that thought piece the next day at lunch, and then I could have even maybe gotten some sleep too. Then I wouldn't be staggering around crying, right? The next morning. So I think it has more to do with, you really have to ask yourself, have I just inserted this otherwise legitimate part of an artistic process in at the worst possible time to torture myself? Sometimes the answer is yes, but don't hate, the thought piece you wanted to read, or the lily pad you wanted to draw, or, the conversation you wanted to have with your collaborator about the deepest erotic truth. Don't blame the activity, blame the time you chose to put it in.
Can procrastination be good? Well, here's a hot take. I say yes. And for me, where it